I've put this saw through some serious paces since getting it, and it's adequate for most of my needs. Its primary use is for weekend woodworking and DIY applications. The saw has plenty of power to make cuts into various types of woods with no troubles or slowdowns. I use it mostly for rough cuts, close enough, which is the typical application of miter saws. The blade brake is extremely effective. You don't have to worry about the blade continuing to spin once the saw has been stopped. Setting up miters and bevels are super easy with the provided gauges, but again, this isn't for precise mitering beveling, which is probably better accomplished on a table saw with an appropriate sled. Setup was easy, and it comes mostly fully assembled. Packaging was solid, and it arrived without any damage whatsoever. It's light enough to put away after use, an important feature I need in all my woodworking tools. So far it's held up for just under a year and I've used it for thousands of cuts, so I'd say it's been robust, probably even robust enough for field contractor work. I don't really miss having a cut-guiding laser, as I don't mind, and probably prefer double-checking where my blade's going to cut anyway, but this is a feature you won't find integrated into this saw. I love that this thing can cut to fairly deep lengths, 8, as it's put off my need for a sliding compound miter saw, and I haven't run into a project yet where this depth of cut doesn't work for me. There's a few things I don't really like about the saw from use, which I think are the most important things to cover in a review. As others have mentioned, the provided blade is cheap and will give you a fair amount of tear out with only minor use. You'll definitely want to replace it with something more robust and probably finer, like an 80-tooth blade. The thing I like the least, however, is that it's very difficult to attach jigs to. The fence and base design, while reasonably accurate, simply has very few places to attach clamps to comfortably. The rear of the fence has a lot of molded cross supports, meaning it's virtually impossible to get a good clamp to attach to. Additionally, the saw base rests fully on the work surface, so you can't fit a clamp under the base either. To me, one of the most useful abilities of a miter saw like this is to be able to set up a simple stop block for repeated cuts, and while it can be done, it's never pretty and usually requires some fussing with the clamps. Eventually I'll build a proper miter station with an auxiliary fence to either side to overcome this shortcoming, but if that's important to you, I strongly recommend a set of deep clamps. Lastly, as with most miter saws, the dust collection leaves something to be desired. The default bag won't do much at all, although it does catch maybe 30%, which surprised me for the better a bit. An upgrade to a vacuum dust collection system improves the result fairly well, but still only to about 60 to 70% of capture. To be fair, this is similar to virtually all miter saws.